What if I told you that the world's largest passenger aircraft was actually a commercial failure, while a modest-sized plane revolutionized global aviation? Welcome to the World Documentaries, where today we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating rivalries in aviation history, the clash between the Airbus A380 Super Jumbo and the Boeing 787 Dreamliner. These two aircraft represent completely opposite philosophies about the future of air travel. One bet on bigger, the other on smarter. One promised to move masses through massive hubs, while the other envisioned direct connections between smaller cities. The outcome of this battle has reshaped how billions of people travel across our planet, and the story reveals fundamental truths about innovation, economics, and what happens when brilliant engineers make very different bets about the future. The birth of a giant. The Airbus A380 story begins not in the 2000s when it first flew, but way back in 1988 when Airbus engineers looked at crowded airports and growing passenger numbers with a bold idea. They observed the phenomenal success of Boeing's iconic 747 jumbo jet and asked themselves a simple question: what if we could build something even bigger? The aviation world was experiencing unprecedented growth, with passenger numbers doubling every 15 years. Yet airports remained relatively constrained in size and capacity. Airbus initially explored an unusual concept, joining two A340 fuselages side by side to create a super-wide aircraft. However, they eventually settled on the design we recognize today, a full double-decker configuration that would dwarf everything else in the sky. The A380 could theoretically carry an astonishing 868 passengers in an all-economy layout, though in practice, the densest configuration seats 615 people, still more than double the capacity of the 787 Dreamliner. The hub-and-spoke philosophy. Airbus built the A380 around a specific vision of how air travel would evolve, known as the hub-and-spoke model. Imagine you're traveling from Hartford, Connecticut to London, England under this system. You wouldn't fly directly between these cities. Instead, you'd take a short hop to a major hub like New York, Atlanta, or Chicago, then board a massive long-haul aircraft packed with passengers from dozens of connecting flights. This approach might seem inefficient for individual travelers, who often fly away from their destination before heading toward it. But the mathematics appeared compelling for airlines. Consider a simplified example. If 6 major US cities all needed connections to each other, direct flights would require 16 different routes. With just 2 hubs on each coast, you'd only need 5 routes total. Those hub-to-hub trunk routes would see enormous demand, perfectly suited for a massive aircraft like the A380 to achieve maximum efficiency through sheer scale. The Dreamliner's different dream. While Airbus was betting on bigger, Boeing was observing different trends in the late 1990s as sales of their large 747s and 767s began slowing. They initially considered building the Sonic Cruiser, a revolutionary aircraft that would fly 15% faster than conventional jets while maintaining similar fuel efficiency. Airlines showed genuine enthusiasm until the September 11th attacks, and soaring fuel prices dramatically shifted priorities from speed to fuel economy. Boeing's response was the 787 Dreamliner, a fundamentally different aircraft built on revolutionary composite materials that made it extraordinarily light and efficient. This modest-sized plane, carrying just 220 passengers in typical configurations, achieves an impressive 102 miles per gallon per seat compared to the A380's relatively thirsty 74 miles per gallon. More importantly, the Dreamliner boasts an enormous 8,000-mile range while maintaining that efficiency, a combination that would prove absolutely game-changing for global aviation. Point-to-point revolution. The 787 was engineered specifically for what Boeing called the point-to-point model, a completely different approach to connecting the world. Instead of funneling Hartford passengers through New York to reach London, airlines could now operate direct Hartford to London flights profitably. The demand would obviously be lower than on major trunk routes, but here's the crucial insight. There absolutely is demand, and previously, no aircraft existed that could serve it economically. Before the Dreamliner era, airlines attempting routes between smaller cities faced an impossible dilemma. They needed aircraft with greater capacity than actual demand because only large planes possessed the necessary range. This forced carriers toward hub-and-spoke operations, concentrating demand on certain routes where they could fill massive long-haul aircraft. The 787 shattered these constraints, enabling airlines to profitably serve long routes with moderate demand, what industry insiders call long and skinny routes, opening unprecedented connectivity between secondary cities worldwide. The economics that changed everything. For decades, airlines believed the hub-and-spoke model offered superior cost efficiency through economies of scale, the principle that doing more of something together costs less than separately. However, this conventional wisdom didn't actually hold true in aviation when examined closely. Operating larger aircraft requires substantially more ground staff, additional flight attendants, more check-in agents, dramatically more fuel, and increased costs across virtually every operational category. The only cost remaining constant between aircraft sizes is pilots, while only gate usage and takeoff fees decrease slightly with larger planes. When airlines shift operations toward frequent flights at the world's largest, most expensive airports like JFK or London Heathrow, Total costs actually increase substantially. Smaller airports like Hartford feature cheaper labor, lower takeoff fees, and reduced operational expenses because there's simply less competition for resources. Additionally, direct flights eliminate the duplication of per-flight costs. Airlines pay once instead of twice for items like landing fees, gate charges, and crew positioning, opening new horizons. United Airlines pioneered innovative point-to-point operations from their Newark hub, which proved perfectly suited for smaller aircraft operations. They boldly opened direct flights to secondary British Isles destinations using narrow-body Boeing 757s stretched to their maximum range capabilities. United now operates the only transatlantic service to destinations like Shannon in Ireland, Belfast in Northern Ireland, and cities across Scotland and Northern England including Glasgow, Edinburgh, Manchester, Newcastle, and Birmingham. The 787 has enabled even more ambitious long and skinny routes connecting secondary cities across enormous distances. Today's aviation map features routes that seemed impossible just 2 decades ago. Tokyo to Seattle, London to Chennai, Wuhan to San Francisco, Beijing to Boston, Nairobi to Paris, Santiago to Madrid, and Warsaw to Beijing. Perhaps most excitingly, the Dreamliner's efficiency sparked an entirely new category of carrier budget long-haul airlines like Australia's Jetstar, Singapore's Scoot, and Norwegian, offering dramatically lower fares on intercontinental routes. The verdict of the market. The aviation market has spoken with unmistakable clarity about which vision of the future proved correct. The A380 has become what industry analysts reluctantly call a commercial failure. Airbus hasn't received a new order in years and recently announced production cuts to just 12 aircraft annually. Meanwhile, the 787 Dreamliner has accumulated nearly 1,200 orders from airlines worldwide. With delivery slots booked years into the future, Boeing continues pushing this revolution forward with aircraft like the 737 MAX, a redeveloped narrow-body featuring extended range and improved efficiency that could enable even lower-demand transatlantic routes. We might soon see services like Manchester to Cleveland, Lyon to New York, or Belfast to Washington, D.C. becoming routine. Norwegian Airlines has already announced plans to establish an auxiliary transatlantic hub in Edinburgh, relatively small. Scottish City demonstrating how thoroughly the point-to-point model has transformed aviation economics. The future takes flight. Point-to-point flying has always delivered superior experiences for passengers, eliminating frustrating connections and reducing total travel time significantly. What's changed is that recent technological innovations have made this model economically superior for airlines as well, a rare win-win situation. When both passenger preference and airline profitability align behind the same operational model, the direction of the industry becomes absolutely clear and essentially inevitable. The A380 versus Dreamliner story teaches us that in technology and business, bigger isn't always better. Smarter usually wins. This battle demonstrates how deeply understanding changing customer needs and technological capabilities matters more than following conventional wisdom or betting on past success. As we look toward aviation's future, the lesson resonates clearly. Innovation that serves real human needs while making economic sense will always triumph over impressive engineering that solves yesterday's problems. Thank you so much for watching the World Documentaries. If you found this deep dive into aviation innovation fascinating, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our explorations of the technologies, decisions, and innovations shaping our world. Give this video a thumbs up if you learned something new today, and we'd absolutely love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you flown on either the A380 or the Dreamliner? Which aircraft provided the better experience? Do you prefer direct flights even if they cost slightly more? Or do you mind connections if they save money? Share your aviation experiences and perspectives with our community in the comments. We read every single one, and your insights often inspire future episodes. Join us next time as we explore another fascinating story of innovation, competition, and how technology changes the world we live in. Safe travels, everyone.